Hello everyone, it's Paola. So today I thought we would discuss typography because, as you guys know, it's my favorite thing to talk about, and I've never actually touched on it in a full video all about type. So let's talk about the basics of type. Why not? Hello, I'm interrupting myself to tell you that this video is sponsored by NewAir. Woo! So as you guys know, I just moved, so I was looking for a portable heater and something that I could have in my room because it's getting really cold. I am so happy that NewAir reached out and that I got this space heater for my room. It's so amazing. It is the NIH 1110W00 model. That's a mouthful, but it's really great because it can oscillate around the room. It turns off when it gets too heated in the room and then it will come back on, and it also is very slim. I can put it away, which is great because I don't have a ton of room in my bedroom. I mean, I live in New York, come on. I'm just super happy with it, and I know that you will be happy too if you get your own. So use my code Paola Kassa 20 in the description below to get 20% off of your purchase. Thank you, NewAir, for sponsoring me. I am very happy with my heater. The chaos of my life right now, I need to take a breath. I'm here. Okay, so I figured we'd talk about typography and really what it is. This is not going to be like a step-by-step tutorial of everything, but you know, there's a lot to cover in typography, so let's just discuss it because I love it, and if you don't know anything about it, maybe you want to know things about it, so yeah, I'm here. Now, I was just drawing some examples of different styles of type, and honestly, I got a little carried away and was just having a lot of fun. So this is what I have done. This is typography, you know? Drawing type is not something I'm strong at, but I'm actually pretty impressed with myself today. Wow, wild. But basically my plan was to break down the 4 styles of typography onto my notebook, but you know what? I'm just gonna talk about them and show them on the screen because that is so much better for you to understand. Like, why would I try to get creative with it? Why bother being creative when I'm not? I'm kidding, but let's talk about the 4 types of type. So basically there are 4 styles of typography. There are also other styles, but these are the main essential things that you need to know when getting started in understanding typography. So the 4 styles are essentially this: serif typefaces, sans-serif typefaces, decorative typefaces, and script typefaces. So serif typefaces are ones that are more classic, and those were the ones that were created back in the day, way before all of this technology and everything. So sans-serif is, as you can guess, a little bit more modern. So those are essentially the ones without the serifs on them. So they look a little bit more streamlined. They look very clean, modern, fresh. Now, script can essentially be cursive, but it can also be just more of a handwriting style. I always think of like wedding invitations first if I were to think of a script font. And then there's decorative type, which can essentially be anything. It can be anything outside of this scope of typefaces. It's not something you're going to put in tiny little format so you can't read it. It's usually really special. So 2 books that I would recommend if you are looking to get into typography that we'll also look at in this video are Thinking with Type by Ellen Lupton. This is a great resource and it's actually very interesting. It does go into a little bit of history of typography and then also into more uses and all the info of what type is used for, and it's just very helpful. Very great resource. We'll look at it in a second for something. And the second book is Stop Stealing Sheep and Find Out How Type Works by Eric Spiekerman. This is also a great resource and very interesting. Again, I mean, these books are not dull, but they go into a lot of interesting things in here, like media, the use of type around the world, the use of type or just around your environment and how you process that information. I think is very interesting, so this is a great resource as well if you're looking to learn. Now, here's where things get interesting in typography. We can break down the anatomy of type, and honestly, I could take all day talking about this, but I won't. So the essential breakdown of the anatomy of type is naming the actual parts of the letter forms, and also creating a grid, a guide essentially, into figuring out where everything goes. And that helps creating typefaces. It really helps when you're creating typefaces. And it also helps in understanding why things are laid out the way they are and how you can implement them into your designs in a more technical manner, I guess. But it's just really helpful to know so you can understand why things happen before you actually do things. Because graphic design is making very informed decisions to create a bigger picture. And when you don't know why you're doing something, it can get a little complicated in creating something that's actually effective and actually good. So in Thinking with Type, they have a great sort of layout of all of this and what this means, but I'm not going to just show you the pages of this book. I'm actually going to tell you about things. Here we go. So letter forms are essentially these. They're basically shapes that create what we know to be letters. Without preschool and figuring out our ABCs, they would just look like shapes because that's what they are. So what we have here are different parts of letters. So we can actually name and label all of the parts of these letter forms so you can get a better understanding of what actually creates these things. So actually in school, I made a big booklet in my typography class labeling all of the parts that I learned because that was an assignment we had, and it was very, very helpful exercise. So I would encourage you to do this too. Learn the parts of the letter forms and then actually create your own to make it sort of like a handy guide for yourself. You don't have to make it as big as mine, because mine was like this big. But yeah, it's a really helpful exercise in just understanding the anatomy of type, and it definitely helped me when I created a typeface, but also when I choose typefaces and I know what to look for and what I want in a type. So the main things that you would need to know about the anatomy are things like the baseline. So the baseline is the line that goes straight across where all of your letters will sit. So that has to be even, obviously. I'm not trying to explain how to make a typeface, but in a typeface, that is where the bottom of your letters start. And then we have your cap height. So your cap height is the top of all the capital letters in a typeface. Then you have your X height. So your X height is the middle line that is actually the top of the lowercase x, because that is where you will base off of all the letters from. So the lowercase x is the basis of the middle of your typeface and the middle of your letters to create consistency in a typeface. Then you have your ascender height and your descender height. So those are in things like the lowercase h or d, you have ascenders, and then in like lowercase g, you have a descender, or a lowercase y, how things hang down. So that would obviously go below the baseline and create your ascender and descender. So that is a great place to talk about the parts of the letter forms. So the ascender is in a lowercase h or a b. Those that go up are called the ascender. And then when you have your, capital letters that balance on a strong stem, that is called the stem. And that can include a serif or it cannot. And then like your lowercase y has your descender, so that part of the letter is actually called the descender. And then in curved letters like an S, you have the spine in the middle that curves. The part of the letter that curves around is called the bowl because it's actually creating, like a bowl shape. And then the inside, the negative space, like in the letter O, is called a counter. So the negative space is the counter. I think that's a really quick, good introduction to the anatomy of type, but definitely look into it yourself, especially with this book. Very helpful, and definitely once you are starting to learn, create yourself a little guide, and that can be really, really great. I think what's interesting about typography is that it can evoke so many different feelings and emotions, and you really see that in this book. They highlight it very well about like emotion and how that affects typography and how it can really be mismatched. Like in a script typeface, if you were to put the emotion surprise with a script typeface, it just wouldn't have the same impact as, say, something like a really bold type that is maybe sans-serif that has more of an impact of surprise. So we have all these ideas from what we've been conditioned to understand about the world, especially through signs and type. And there's just so many different things that you can really figure out through the world with typography. This was just a small chaotic video that really touched on the beginnings of typography, so let me know if you want me to do another one where I talk more about type rules and what you can and can't do and when to break those rules. Let me know if you want to see that, and I will definitely do that because I have so much more to talk about in type, and I realized that this was going to be really, really long if I didn't cut it off somewhere, so the anatomy of type is a great place to start, and giving you some resources and tips of where to begin with all of that. So hopefully this was helpful for you. If you liked this video and you want to see another typography related video, give this a thumbs up and let me know in the comments. And also subscribe if you haven't, and ring the bell because YouTube is not recommending me to people that much, so we kind of need to step up. Share it with a friend. Share my channel with a friend that you think will be interested in design and art. Okay, so I'm gonna go, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! Oh my gosh, the amount of noise that I've had to deal with. I've tried to film things like 10 times. I'm actually gonna scream. So after this, I'm gonna go scream. Check you later.